Hello, welcome to my video. Today I'm going to talk about why derealization happens after smoking weed and what to do about it. So many people think that smoking weed gives you a panic attack because of anxiety, and while that may be true, the reason why it gives some people anxiety and makes some people chilled out is basically because of the way the body works, and everyone's different and everyone's got different DNA. So some people are more dominant in certain neurotransmitters because of the way the DNA is and the way the body breaks down those neurotransmitters. So I would say, I would estimate that most people who have derealization episodes after smoking cannabis have a slow COMT variation. So basically, you've got different enzymes in your DNA, so you've got different types for each thing, you've got different purposes of each bit of DNA, they all work differently, they all work in certain ways. Some people are susceptible to having higher levels of certain neurotransmitters because the body doesn't break down the neurotransmitters as quickly as other people. So for the COMT variation, if you have a slow COMT variation, and you can get that tested quite easily with saliva. I got mine checked at 23andMe, and I downloaded the raw data from there and put it on the Genetic Genie site and found that I've got 2 variations of the slow COMT. So I don't break down dopamine very fast, and nor do I break down adrenaline and estrogen very quickly. So some people are already naturally high in dopamine because their body doesn't break it down very quickly. So when you smoke cannabis, when dopamine levels increase because cannabis increases the levels of dopamine in the body. So why certain people feel good and some people don't is because some people have a fast COMT variation which breaks down dopamine too quickly. So they don't have a lot of dopamine, so they're more prone to depression, feeling lethargic, rather than anxiety. The high dopamine people have more anxiety, they've got more of a fast mind because of the dopamine high. They're quite creative people, they can, are quite intelligent people as well, but unfortunately they experience anxiety because they have high levels of dopamine. So some people who smoke weed with low levels of dopamine feel good because it just tops up that level of dopamine to where it's optimal, and they feel, content with that. They get that reward feeling, and that's why some people like to binge eat or are addicted to gambling. People with the fast COMT variation have more likelihood of addictions because their body relies on that dopamine hit to feel good. So that's why people get addicted to cannabis in a way, because it keeps that dopamine level topped up. So anyway, when someone has a panic attack from cannabis, it's likely that they've got too much dopamine, because too much dopamine can affect the levels of anxiety. That also increases the level of adrenaline, which can't be broken down the same as dopamine. And the genetic variant means that those neurotransmitters are too high and your body can't handle them. So that is why you may have experienced a panic attack from smoking weed. So the other thing is that normally people with this DNA variation of a slow COMT, they don't usually come into problems unless there is other things at play as well. So you might have other toxins in the body that are also further slowing down this COMT variation, making it less useful. And smoking the weed is basically just the straw that broke the camel's back. It's a grain of salt in the whole pile, and it's just the one thing that was needed to tip the body over the edge of that toxin burden level, because like I've talked about before, we all have a threshold of toxin burden level of where the body can handle the toxins and, you know, get rid of them, and for them to not cause symptoms and have any effect on the body. Some people's burden level is higher than others. Mine is quite low because of the way my body works, and the toxins in my body were too high. So it tipped me over the edge and sent me into that derealization, because the body is basically like, there's too much imbalance going on, and the brain is just like, nope, we can't deal with that. Like, I'm not working properly. I'm not going to work properly because I need to focus on detoxing. But the way mercury works as well, and heavy metals, is one of the things that can affect derealization, is that they don't naturally come out of the body very quickly. It takes years for the body to detox mercury. It takes about 30 years naturally, which is why you need chelation therapy. But that's why people are stuck in derealization for years, even after smoking weed, because they've reached that toxic burn level and the body can't handle the toxins and it just doesn't start flowing again. So what to do about it? There is a way to fix this, and there is several things that you can do. Some of them are more, I guess, challenging than others, but just know that this is fixable. Like, it's happened to me once where I was younger and I smoked I think it was like a bucket, which is basically just a bottle and it's in water and you suck the weed through there. And I was young and I just thought, like, I thought I was just showing off. So I had this, and I had a massive, I think it was probably one of my first derealization episodes. I wanted to call an ambulance. So I walked around the streets, paced around the streets till it wore off. Thankfully, it only lasted that day. Next day, I think I was okay. And I know some people aren't that lucky. Like, the adrenaline doesn't leave the body because it's stuck and it can't get broken down. There's too many toxins blocking the pathway. So that pathway is called the methylation cycle. If you do not correctly methylate, which means basically process toxins and detox, then you're going to have further issues. So I also have a variant in the MTHFR enzyme, which again is very common, but combined with the COMT, if I come into any contact with any toxins, methylation can't process them, the COMT gets further out of whack, slows down even more. So it's creating that absolute imbalance and havoc on the body. So what you can do is basically detox the body, and I don't just mean like, you know, drink a cup of green tea every morning. This has to be something that you're going to really put your mind and body and soul into, because I tried so many different things before I managed to get better and start healing properly. I'm still on the detoxification journey. I haven't long started, but you know, I've seen much more results from this in terms of my mental health and feeling real again compared to anything else I've done. So there is a few things that you need to think about. So whether or not you've got mercury fillings, which are the amalgams, the silver fillings, those need to be removed safely by a holistic dentist. This is something that you're going to have to do a lot of research into, but basically there is a list of smart dentists all over the world who specialise in removing these fillings safely, because like I've said, if you just get them drilled out by a normal dentist, you'll get exposed to the vapour. So you need those fillings removed. You need to figure out as well what foods are triggering your symptoms, because there is certain things when you become toxic that you become intolerant to as well. For me, it was dairy, eggs, like vegetables like broccoli, sulfury things, which is all to do with mercury as well. So you need to get on the best diet you can, like do elimination trials, you know, stop eating eggs for a week and then eat an omelette with 4 eggs in it and see what happens. You know, if you don't feel any different, then like just rule that out, but you do need to just look into like what you can do for your diet. You need to take supplements to support your body. I made another video on this as well, the supplements I take and deficiencies that you might have. You need to prepare the body for detoxification, and there is so many methods of detoxification out there, and I'm not going to go into them all in this video, but there's chelation therapy, obviously, which detoxes heavy metals. There is enemas, there is fasting, castor oil, you know, like parasite cleanses, candida diets, like herbal supplements that you can take for things like Lyme disease, and like protocols that you can follow. But just remember, if it starts to make you feel worse, just stop, because if it's going to make you feel better, it would quite quickly. That's the thing I've found. Don't persist with something thinking it's going to work, because you just need to rule that out. And you know, you're not going to feel any worse overall, but it will make you feel uncomfortable for a while. But I just want to let you know that basically smoking a joint and being stuck in the derealization for months after is not because, you know, you've got anxiety disorder problems. You might be generally a more anxious person, but don't let a doctor tell you, you know, it's just anxiety. I used to think that, and it is true for certain people who've experienced PTSD, for example, or severe trauma, but don't just make the shoe fit because you think it's just anxiety. Like, I thought I had PTSD and I made some sort of like story up in my head that this experience I had years ago has caused a derealization now, and it's just been suppressed and it's come out. Like, unless you've genuinely had a traumatic experience or like a near-death experience or seen something really traumatic that you actually have flashbacks about, don't just assume it's PTSD. Because I'm only just discovering now that there is so much misinformation about derealization and depersonalization, and it's actually a physical symptom of something going on in the body. And all it is stress in the body. That's what it's from. But stress does not mean external things only. It can be internal. There's so much going on in the body that you can't see. It's unbelievable. And so many things can trigger stress, like overload of toxins, for example, that you can't see and you just have no knowledge of, and you're not even realising that you're walking around in a dissociative state because your body is loaded with toxins. Once you get those toxins out, you begin to feel normal again. It's like, for me, I've had derealization on and off when I've been really hungover. Once my body's able to process and liver has processed that toxin, I feel okay again. So just remember, it's not always because of an anxiety disorder. And your doctor might say you're okay, but like I've said in another video, Western medicine only scratches the surface of what is going on in the body. They do not acknowledge things like toxins, you know, heavy metals, parasites, nothing like that, because, well, it's a different topic really, but they just are not trained in that. So, and it's not their fault, but you need to do your own research and become your own advocate. Do not let someone tell you that you're fine and, you know, the dissociation is because you're just anxious. You know, if you've lived like this for years, it has to stop. Like, this, you're gonna have to do something and change it, because unfortunately, and as scary as this sounds, it's most likely not going to go away on its own, because unless you get those toxins out your body is not going to work in the optimal way. For some people, that might look like fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome, or like thyroid issues, and for other people it looks like depersonalization. It just depends on how your body works, and I guess where I think most of your energy goes. For me, it's in my thinking and in my brain, which is why I believe it's triggered mental illness rather than physical so much. But I learned there is hope to get better, because I'm opening my eyes to all of this. I'm getting better now, and it's something I'm very shocked about, but I just don't want other people to suffer for years barking up the wrong tree, because I did. And I didn't suffer for years, I suffered for 1 year, but even another day like that, I didn't want to live, so didn't want to live in. So I hope this video helps. If you've got any questions, leave them down below. This is basically all of my own experience. I find that research into depersonalization isn't very accurate because no one has really studied it other than PTSD. And I would say probably about 30% of derealization disorders are from PTSD. I would say about 70% of them are from other things, such as toxins. And I think toxins I would say that would cover about 50% of all people with derealization. Just an estimate I've got, because like once you cross that other side and you can see the recovery, you're like, yeah, it makes so much sense. But it doesn't when you're in that state of mind. You know, I spent like months working on my inner self and my mental health. Nothing changed. No matter how confident I felt, or you know how much I loved myself, the dissociation still persisted, and that was so discouraging, and I had to look down other paths, and thankfully I found the answers. So let me know if you need any help. Send me a message, or you can message comment on my YouTube video and I'll send you a message. I'll kind of try and coach you through it. Once I have completely recovered, I'm also in the process, I'm going to write a book. Well, I've been writing a book about this. I'm about 1/3 of the way done, but I've almost finished my degree in counselling. I'm also hopefully going to pursue training in holistic practitioner, and then my goal in life is to coach people with derealization disorders to get them back to normal and make it stop, basically. Like, I think that's what I've been destined to do. So that's probably why I've had this for a year, because I needed to be shown how bad it is and how to make it better. So do not despair. The answers are out there, but you just need to have an open mind. So thanks for watching. Speak to you soon.